This unit is about unit 6. How did the English start up in India? What was the historical background and the evolution and features also? So historical background. Historical background refers to what? This we are talking about when when foreigners were ruling our country. You remember in history we would have learned how the English they ruled us for several years. Now, historical background, language. Let's start up with language. Language emerged in the course of human evolution as means of communication. So language was only the one thing which was a means of communication for the Indians. But when the British came and they started to rule us, there was a little bit of difficulty for them to communicate with us. So different communities developed their own codes with distinctive systems, which had similar universal features in different corners of the world. All human beings have inherent ability to communicate and are capable of learning one or more languages. This brings us to the position of English in India. So slowly, as the Britishers came, they started to teach their language for us. So it was easy for them to communicate with us and also to interact with the people who were staying in India. So it took a little bit of time for us to interact with them, for us to mingle with them, and also to learn the language. So once the people were able to interact, what was the first thing? There was no doubt that English had become the lingua franca of not only India, but also all countries across the globe. What do you mean by lingua franca? Aware of this word?
No, ma'am.
Yes, lingua franca refers to the English language, which became very social and it was communicable throughout the globe, throughout the world. The communication was carried out in English as well as comprehended. And it was used in all over the countries. Now, English is one of the 6 official language of UNO. You all people know that? Students? Are you all 3 here? Amy, Devika, Antara?
Ma'am, can you repeat, ma'am?
Yes, I'm noting it down. English was the 6th official language of the UN.
Yeah, please note. I'm just talking about the historical background when English started its evolution. Evolution means when English started its, how did it start in our India? I said the English is one of the 6 official languages of the UNO. I asked, are you aware of this, that English was one of the 6th official language of UNO?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, Antara, you got my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what happened? So when English became a common language of interaction, people were very easily able to capture the language and they started to communicate and exchange their cultures with each other. English has surely made the world a small, close-knitted place. What do you mean by small, close-knitted place? This is a proverb. English made people from all over the country to come closer, come interact with each other. So this made us what? This made us very closer through the language. So English was one of the language which was established or which came into existence during when the East India Company or the Britishers when they ruled our country.
Ma'am, since we had so many languages in India, even now, English becomes a common way to communicate. Common
way to communicate throughout the globe, throughout the world. See, in
yes,
India,
and
we
also
have
within
different
India
languages.
Right now,
Yes.
If we look at
yes. Nowadays, in India, it has become a trend. As though you are from whichever religion, whichever caste, at home also nowadays, people have started communicating with their kids in English rather than the mother tongue. It has become a trendy language nowadays. Agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Why? Because I myself have seen my relatives, my far relatives, my colleagues. They start interacting with small babies from when the baby starts to speak or say 1, 2 words, and 8 months itself they start communicating the baby with English. They start showing cartoons in English. That's because they think English is one of the easiest language to communicate, and it's a trend nowadays for everyone. They have forgotten the mother tongue now. Any doubt, Antara?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, how did when Britishers they came to rule us? What happened at that time? Let's see. When in the Indian British encounter gave rise to Indian writing in English, and what started? See, when the Britishers were ruling, no, us, that time what happened? This gave an encounter to India. What encounter? It gave a space in India for people to start using the English language by reading and writing. But initially it started from writing in our country. So what started a necessary, the learning of English by the Indians was for the purpose of trade and commerce gradually. So why did we use this English language? We use this English language. Our one of the major important reason for using English or learning English was to communicate and to trade with the other countries. And also it became very creative in writing as well for the people. They started communicating, learning, and they started to use that language as a means of communication. Does anyone want any point which has to be noted?
No, ma'am, it's clear for me.
Okay. Antara and Amy?
Clear, ma'am.
No, okay. When did Indian English came into existence, or when was English established in our country? So English was introduced with an expectation in the early of 19th century in the Indian economy or in the Indian history. Please make a note of this. The English came into existence in the 19th century. And when this came into the existence in the 19th century, how did this start? First, people started to write essays, articles, fictions, and poetry. In fact, Indians had started writing English much better than the formalized English education which system began in the foreign countries. Listen, shall I repeat the point?
Yeah, ma'am.
Am I too fast?
No, not too, but yeah, maybe too.
Listen, what happened when this English came into existence in the 19th century, early of 19th century? That time what happened? People, our Indians, they caught up the language very easily, and it was very easy for them to learn and read. As soon as they started to use this, what did they do? They started to pen that language. Penning that language means they started in writing the language English much better than the formalized English education system. They were much better than the language which was compared to the foreigners which they used. Our Indians were very formalized. What did they write? They started to write essays, articles, fictions, and poetry. In fact, Indians had started writing English much before the formalized English education started by the Britishers. So when this English started, or it was evolved, when people started to read, when our Indians people started to read, what happened? They started to print papers, journals, newspapers also came into existence, and they started the printing press systems came into existence. Printing the English newspapers started in India by the printing presses. So who was the first person who introduced Indian press? The first person to introduce Indian press was Lord William Bentinck, and Rajaram Mohan Roy were the first to follow, and they were the people who established the English newspapers together.
Lord William?
Lord William Bentinck and Rajaram Mohan Roy.
Okay.
These were the two. Now, when these two people started, what happened? They gave the very beautiful meaningful contributions from. They extracted some words from the English language. They simplified the advanced English which was given by the Britishers to the simple language. So as soon as they followed this, behind them, who and all came up? Behind them, many people came up, like Rabindranath Tagore, Swami Vivekanand, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. Many people started to learn that language. They started to develop that language. So English became a backbone of all the people in India. Got it? This was the evolution and the introduction of how English was introduced in our Indian country. Is this topic clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just a minute. So what is this? So the next was colonial period. So when did the colonial period start in India? The colonial period was started by the East India Company in 1599 at a meeting which was held in London by the merchants, the business merchants who were trading with us. What did they do? They started to dominate the people here. They started playing tricks, games. What did they do? They started to cheat. They said they used to make a group of people here. They came and contacted some people in India. They started to divide and rule concept was started by this Britishers itself. Is this point clear or should I repeat?
It's clear, ma'am.
Okay. So what happened when this East India Company was set up in 1599 at a meeting happened in London. They started to, what did they do? They started to have interaction with the people. They started to dominate. They started to divide and rule us in 1599. So when this war was going on, when these people were looting us, what happened at that time? Many people came up to revolt against them. But also, they ruled us for more than over 200 years, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Britishers ruled us for more than 200 years. Now, what happened when these people were there? There was a debate. Okay, the debate was happening in this colonial period. Why was this debate happening? The debate was happening between Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Macaulay. For a minute, these both people started to have a debate. Well, on what did they debate? They debated on the rights and right for the Indians. Who debated? Raja Ram Mohan Roy said, no, you need to give us the rights to trade and rule. You people cannot divide and rule us. He started to revolt. So when he started to revolt, his debate was only for 1 minute, but he fought as much as he could. What were the words which were said by him? He said, Indian in blood and color, but English in taste and opinion is not good. Who said this speech marks words? It was said by Rajaram Mohan Roy. He said that we are Indian in blood and in color also we are Indians, but English in taste and opinion is not good. You people can't come and divide and rule us. This is not going to make a formal things for us. He started to revolt against them, and the Britishers also gave them opportunity. They gave an opportunity to Rajaram Mohan Roy to revolt, but the debate was held only for a minute. Between whom? Between Macaulay and Rajaram Mohan Roy. And later on, what did Rajaram Mohan Roy do? He wrote many letters and articles to whom? To the Western education or to the London people who introduced this divide and rule concept. But no reply came from there. And even he was jailed for many years, Rajaram Mohan Roy. And later on, when he started to argue, revolt, when he was imprisoned also, later on, the Britishers started imposing Indians, you are unfit for employment. And later on, this period, these Britishers, what did they do? They established their University of London in Bombay and Calcutta and Madras from between 1835 to 1855. Is this clear till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Such a very good. Yes, ma'am. Who was that? So loud. Very energetic.
It was me, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Amy, any doubts till here?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now listen. So in the beginning, when this idea was there for promoting the education and also giving lakhs of rupees for the people to settle down, and when they started to divide and rule, the person who came to revolt against them was Rajaram Mohan Roy. Later on, when they started to tell us that you people are not fit for employment, people need to educate more yourself. So giving this, revolting against them or talking against Rajaram Mohan Roy, they started to establish the University of London, which they established in 3 states of our country, where Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. And common medium of communication was English. And it was also for a creative purpose, English as a tool against the British Raj. So the Indians who were studying in these universities, they started to learn this language. They learned so beautifully, and later on, they took this language against whom? Against the British Raj. British Raj ka matlab kya hai? This is rule. Hindi word is being utilized here. Now, Magna Carta of English Education in India was Wood's Dispatch, and Hunter Commission was also introduced. Are you aware of this Magna Carta of English Education in India by Wood Dispatch? Do you know what is this word?
Magna Carta, I think, is a document.
Document about? Heard anywhere?
Yeah.
I think so. When you have studied history, little bit of anyone can give me. Now, see, Magna Carta is a kind of education in India. It was a kind of English education in India which was introduced by this Woods. His full name I'm not sure of. His Woods Dispatch. Why is this known as a Magna Carta education? It is called, why it is called, please write it. Please make a note of it. I'm going to give the definition. Magna Carta definition. Please, you're writing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the definition for these was, it was aimed to give more education and liberties and freedom. This was aimed to give more education and liberties and freedom to the people of India and advance their education system. Noted, or should I repeat? Magna Carta. Should I repeat?
Noted, ma'am.
The others?
Yes, ma'am. Noted.
Now, Hunter Commission. Hunter Commission was also introduced by Britishers. When did they introduce this Hunter's Commission? Hunter's Commission. So Hunter's Commission was introduced in 1882. Why? What was the main purpose of Hunter's education? Hunter's education was a landmark education. By whom? It was adopted by Viceroy Lord Ripon. Please write it down. Hunter education was a landmark commission which was appointed by Lord Ripon. Why did he appoint this? He appointed this with the objectives to look into the problems of the non-implementation of Wood's dispatch. So Wood has, I told you about this person, Wood, no, he had started an education which was called Magna Carta education. So for this person also started to, what did he do? He wanted some objectives to be implemented, non-implemented things which he introduced, this man, Woods. He wanted to make a change there. So what did he do? He gave some changes here. He looked into the complaints and non-implementation things of the Woods, which he had dispatched when he was there. Is this clear about the definition of Hunter's education?
Yeah, ma'am, it's clear.
No. After post-independence, what happened after post-independence in the colonial period? The first thing when post-independence, is it after independence or it was before independence?
After independence.
After independence.
Yes. But still, before, I want to brush up some points about this colonial period. After, when colonial period was there, what? English became the medium of instruction, and universities modeled on universities of London were established in Bombay, Calcutta, as I told you. So when these universities were established in India, the number of English educated Indians increased. The people of India who got educated through English, the number was increased. The people, many more people took admissions into these colleges and they started to educate themselves. When these people started educating themselves, what happened? A number of English books sold higher than the Indian languages, and the bulk demand came from educated Indians and not from the English based in India. Did you get this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Should I repeat?
Yes, ma'am.
Devika?
Clear, ma'am. It's clear.
So Compared to them, our people were more, but the Indian language had gone down. It was very less. As distance started to get bridged through the introduction of railways and telegraph, a common medium of communication, English started increasing its usage. So once, when this colonial period, what happened? These Britishers only brought the railways also. I agree? To India. You agree? They started railways for modes of communication to transport. So when these things happened, our Indians were the one who were more in learning the language, and they educated themselves very much. Now, in addition to this, what happens? Europeans came. Europeans also came and ruled us. What did they do when they came and ruled us? They came with the techniques. They came with different techniques. Europeans in science field and also in medicine field. What did they do? They started utilizing our herbs and medicines which were available in India free of cost. And the language they started to communicate was English. English was the language they spread among the educated classes. So they came to India, the Europeans, they said, we have come here to help you people to get rid of you from many diseases. They lied to us. And when they lied to us, what did they do? They started to steal the medicinal plants and the medicinal, whatever stuff was available in our India for us. What did they do? They started to cheat us. And the mode of language which they were trying to communicate with us was only the English language. Now, once Indians became familiar with the English language, they started slowly, they started to know why these Britishers are ruling them. They were cheating them from the backbone, the backside of their back. So now, see, in front of everyone, they used to promise something for the Indians, but as soon as the meeting happened, they again used to sit with their people and they used to change the meeting with that. They said, for them to show one rule, we are doing this, but we are going to do this once they are fooled. They used to think Indians are foolers or foolish people. So this was their main agenda, to cheat us. Is this clear?
Yes,
ma'am.
If I'm too fast, please let me know, dear. Everyone. Now, after this
No, ma'am, it's fine.
It's fine. No, as I told you, I came here. After this post-Indian period, what happened? Listen to this. I told you Hindi was an official language. Many peoples from Tamil Nadu also and other non-Hindu speaking states, they came to protest against the British. I'm going to now elaborate on this. Listen now. When India broke into the shackles of British rule, there was a way of doing away with all the British and foreign questions and stuff to deal with. Now people started to revolt against them. Why? Because the Indians came to know that the Britishers are cheating and looting them. The position of first official language was given to Hindi now in India. And attempts were made to declare Hindi as the role of national language in India. Due to the
can
protest,
I add a point?
I will surely repeat once again. Yes, dear.
Ma'am, can I add a point?
Yeah, sure.
Whatever you're discussing. Ma'am, there was a conflict to choose Hindi or Sanskrit as a national language, as a mode of communication. And then they thought that we cannot choose Sanskrit.
Two languages, but Hindi was all taken as a national because it was very easy to communicate in our country. There was a conflict between that. Sanskrit should be given the position and Hindi. You are right. Anything else, Antra?
Continue, ma'am. No, ma'am. Continue. Yes.
Yeah. Do you want me to repeat once again what I just explained here? All the three?
No, ma'am, can continue. Yes.
Devika,
no,
okay. So what happened? The position of the first official language was given to Hindi. And they tried that Hindi should be a role of national language in India. And what happened? Due to protests from Tamil Nadu and non-Hindi speaking states, it was declined to retain English as a temporary language until 1965. So as I told you, protests from Tamil Nadu and other non-Hindi speaking states came up. So these are from South India. Here, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam were the modes of communications of language. Okay, so when these languages were in communication, these people felt very hard to communicate in Hindi. They said, how do we do? So what did they do? These people, the people who said that Hindi should be a language to be utilized in India as a national language, due to the people protesting from other non-Hindu states and Tamil Nadu, they said that we will keep English as a language for official purpose till 1965. So what happened after 1965? The English language amendment bill was passed. and English to be an associate language until such time as all non-Hindu states had agreed to be using English language as the way of communication. So the central government of India declared that in Hindi states as well as in the southern states, the mode of communication of language will be English. Why? Because people are facing difficulties to use their mother tongue to communicate with each other. Is it clear till the amendment bill? Or should I repeat this once again? Should I repeat any points, students?
No, ma'am.
Antara and the other one, you want to note down some point? That when was the amendment bill passed?
Ma'am, you can continue.
Okay. Now, what happened? Now, English was rich in literature, humanistic, scientifically, and technically. So, in 1958, what happened? The Central Institute of English was started in Hyderabad, where the regional institutes were established in Bangalore and Chandigarh. English was studied mainly for education and administration, but because of revolutionary development in science and technology, travel, trade, communication, and entertainment, English got a new role in international language of communication. So what did they do when after this amendment bill was passed? In 1958, the Central Institute of English, what did they do? They established an institute in Hyderabad. What was that institute called? Regional Institute. So when they established, they introduced first in Hyderabad. After Hyderabad, they started to establish in Bangalore, Chandigarh. And what did they do? Easy was one of the main language which had to be studied. Why? That language was being introduced for the administration purpose, also for revolutionary developments in science and technology field, in trade and communication field, as well as entertainment field. So English got a new role. What was the English new language rule? English got a new role in what? In development of studying all these languages. English in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. English became more and more rich in literature, humanistic, scientific, and technical field. And also it became an international language for communication. Is it clear till this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone has some doubts, you can go through these first 5 points and ask me. Till international language of communication. Should I continue?
Yes,
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 ma'am.
ma'am. Continue.
Now, what happened? So after this, when science started developing, English language started to develop in all these fields till here. So now the government of India came to a conclusion or to their decision. What was that decision? In 1965, a government of India brought out 3 languages formula. What was the 3 languages formula in 1965? They said that Hindi will be the official language of India, English would be the associate language for an indefinite period, and regional language will be the language of administration with respective states. Please make a note. Should I repeat?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please. The government of India, they passed an act in 1965. So what was that act? They formulated 3 languages. Hindi would be the official language. 1965, the government of India passed an amendment that the 3 languages will be utilized. Hindi would be the official language in India, English to be the associate language, official language for an indefinite period. Means why English was chosen as an official language for an indefinite period? Indefinite period means we don't know until when we have to use this language. We didn't have any idea for how many years might the Britishers rule us. For that purpose, they gave the second language as English. And the third one was a regional language. this was given the third place. This language was used for what? Administration with respective state. Clear? Antara, Amy, and they
Clear, ma'am.
repeat, dear.
Clear, ma'am.
No,
Noted.
ma'am, it's clear.
Chalo. So now, what is this international language of communication? International language of communication here means when this when our India passed this bill, no, amendment bill of languages, this our language in English language became an national language for communication. Why did it become an international language of communication? Can anyone just give me one example? All the three. Any idea?
Ma'am, can you repeat the question?
I said why English became an international language of communication. I'm talking about this bullet point here. Amy, Devika. No idea?
Ma'am, is it because the English conquered many areas of the world apart from India?
Yeah, they conquered. But why did it become an international language? Why? Because the mode of communication was itself English. We weren't aware of French, Spanish, Arabic. Agree? German.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, due to
Yes,
which,
ma'am. And it was
yes.
a Commonwealth language.
yes, only this language stood as in the place of international language for communication. Now, next, what happened? The Kothari communication, which was introduced in July 1964. What is this Kothari communication? Kothari communication is also known as National Education Commission. Please make a note. They might ask you, Kothari communication is also known as National Education Communication. So when was this formed? This was formed on 14th July 1964 under the chairmanship of Daulat Singh Kothari. The commission stressed on importance of English and the role it would play in higher education as an important library language. So what was the Kothari Commission? Kothari communication was commission was introduced by a person on 14th July 1964. His name was what? Daulat Singh Kothari. What was his role? He said that he passed a meeting, or he set up then commission. What was that commission? In that commission, in that meeting, he stressed that, or he said that English would play a role. What? It would play a role in higher education for the people as an important language in the library. As a reasonable proficiency in English would make a student qualify for a degree like master's. So he introduced that English would go ahead until students complete their education, until they use their masters. It would be introduced as an official language in the library. Why was this sentence at official language as a library language? Because others, if you people now, these people had to complete their degrees. So English was an official language. Why? If they are aware of this, they would be able to go communicate and work in any part of the world. Is this clear? Or you want me to repeat this communications points?
Understood, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you repeat once more?
1 minute, Amy. Okay, I'm going to repeat the point. Listen, students. See, National Education Commission, which is also known as the Kothari Commission, which was introduced in India on 14th July 1964, under whom? Under the chairmanship of Daulat Singh Kothari. What did he do? The commission which he started, or the meeting which he did, it mainly stressed on what? The importance of English language, or the language it would play a role for the higher education as an important library language. So this language would be playing an important role in the higher education system. Like for the people, it would be a proficiency in English would make the student qualify for a master's degree. So he set up that English language would be introduced in our Indian education system until and unless people are able to get their masters. If they want to get their master's degree, they have to be very fluent in English. Is it clear, Amy? Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Antra?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts, dear?
No, ma'am.
If I'm too fast, you can stop. What about the other one? Devika? Is she here?
Yeah, ma'am, it's clear.
What happened?
No, ma'am, I was noting down higher education system.
Okay, that's what I said. Should I repeat something or no? Any point to be repeated?
No, ma'am.
No.
Done.
So what happened when this policy was introduced or when this commission was introduced? What happened? English had to travel a very long distance to come to be lingua franca, as I told you, an inseparable part of Indian lives. It is no wonder that now students don't consider it as a foreign language anymore. See, English traveled a long distance. What traveled a long distance? English language traveled a long distance from where? From the foreign country, and it came to our country. So when this came to our country, now it was not easy for the people to separate this language from Indians. Why? Because it became the lives of Indians. It was now said that no wonder English is not a foreign language anymore. It is also an Indian language. So main keywords to success. What was the main keywords to success? English language was one of the main keywords to success. Now, English became the first language in the education, Indian education, and contributed and to be thought as the first language up to class 12th. So I'm talking about this bullet point. I'm elaborating on this. Should I repeat what I said? You people want to note down something? After Kothari Commission, English traveled a long distance from their birthplace, from foreign country, and it came to India. So when this language had a very long journey from that place to our Indian country, later on when this Kothari Commission was passed, after that, English became one of the first language in the Indian education system. And it was said that it will be taught as the first language until class 12. And for the first language, even today, in most of the central board schools, the modern readers or the learners in India also support English language and claim it to be the main keywords to their successes. Indians who knew good English were seen to the new elite of India. Many new schools were established in which the language of instruction was English. According to the British laws, the language of instruction at the university level was English, and therefore schools that emphasized English were preferred by ambitious Indians. Is this point clear? Main keywords to success.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I repeat again for you people to note down something?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, now next. English played an important language in India. Why? Even after our independence, when it got independent, English remained the main language of India officially. It was given a status of assistive language, which was supported to terminate officially after 15 years of Indian independence. But still, it remains the important language of India. See, this language they were supposed to terminate it officially after the 15 years of India's independence. So India got independent, right? So when India got independent, they started that they will terminate this language after the 15 years of independence. But no, it couldn't happen. Till now, till today's date, in India, it remains an important language of India. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any point to be repeated for noting down? Please go through these points and let me know the last 5 points. Clear? Or should I repeat anything? Or explain anything once more?
It's clear, ma'am.
Okay, now let's go to the next point. What is the next point here? Is this, can you view my screen? Evolution of the language, second part.
Yeah, ma'am. It's
Now,
visible.
what was the evolution and development of English in India? How did English evolve or it came into existence? So when the English language came to India in 17th century, along with whom? With whom did this English language come to our India? Any guesses? It's just a guess I'm asking. No idea? Amy? Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Okay. Now, see, English language, it came to India in the 17th century. Who brought this? The East India Company brought this language to India. Why did they brought this language to conduct trade with India and other countries in the East? Initially, the Britishers tried to learn Indian languages to communicate with Indians. They started special colleges for this purpose. They also took help for translators, but when their political powers increased, they created the British Indian provinces like Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. So the English traders gave more importance to English. So when this language came into existence in 17th century, what did this happen? What happened? There was nothing. East India, when this company was formed, it was its main idea or its main point was to have trade with our East India Company with the Indians. So when they thought that this language will help us to have trade with the Indians. So even initially when Britishers started to trade with our country, they tried to learn our languages, the mother tongues, okay, and they also started special colleges. They went to some special colleges to learn these languages also, and also they kept some translators or mediators for them to help themselves. But when they became little bit more powerful, how did they become powerful? They started ruling us more and more. When the Britishers' power became more to rule us, they started to dominate the Indians, and they kept English as an official language only to communicate with everyone. So when now some missionary institutions also were started in this period in English. Why? To teach the Indians that English was a language to be taught. So the East India Company took the responsibility of education of Indians. So initially even the Britishers came to help us to educate our people or our students or our children of India. So what did they do? The East India Company took all the responsibility of education of Indians. The Indians were realizing the importance of English language, and English also served as the communication language among the Indians who spoke different languages. Is this point clear? This three?
Yes, ma'am.
17th century language came into existence. When this language came into existence, why was it used? It was used first to trade motives and with our country. Initially, they tried to learn Indian languages, but no. When their political powers increased, they started some institutions, missionary institutions. Why did they start? They started this to teach the Indians English language. So when they started to teach, what happened? It was also a communication language among the Indians who spoke different languages. Like we in our Indian culture, we have different religions, different people. We talk different languages, but this language became a mode of communication for us to interact with everyone. Clear all the three?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay, Antara, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Devika, what about you, dear?
Yeah, ma'am.
No. Or am I too fast, or it is not able to get it?
No, ma'am. It's fine. You're going slow.
Okay, chalo. Next came what? The future of English. What was the future of English? Again, this language played a very important role in what? In legal, financial, education, and business enterprises in India. Why? People were aware of the importance of language. So here Indians came to know that English was an important language which was there. They were also interested in learning the spoken languages in English. As a result, various courses were developed for teaching, speaking English classes. Now, the use of language, laboratory and computer assisted language has created new changes in the teaching of English language. The audio cassettes came up. Audio cassettes for what? Audio cassettes, CDs. These all came up to teach English language on a large scale to learn the spoken language, various softwares, and also English teaching and what was English teaching was developed. How it was developed? By using a growing of number of people. So what happened? The future of English, how did it evolve in India? First, it became a legal language. How? For financial purpose, for education purpose, and also for business enterprises. Later on, various courses for English spoken classes started. So various courses here refers to what? Various courses, like if I'm a Bengali, I went to learn English. Why? Just to communicate my mother tongue with and learn English, and also to trade with the people. So slowly as the language got developed, slowly when it got changes, there was also a language laboratory and a computer assisted language learning called this is the full format of call computer assisted language learning. So people started to use all these things slowly to learn the language. Now, there were many private institutions which run the courses of spoken English, especially in big cities. Like language trainers are helping the learners to acquire the required proficiency or the communication skills. Nowadays, TV channels are also working towards the improvisation of English language. Are these 4 points clear, or should I repeat it once again?
It's clear, ma'am.
It's clear, ma'am.
Now, major foreign language in India. What was the major foreign language in India? English language was only a major foreign language in India. How? Let's see. Now, we should remember that English will not be taught solely, but by the native speakers of English in many nations. Some countries like India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and several African nations have provided for the teaching of English mainly through their nationals. Some countries like Japan and China open their doors to do more number of native speakers of English to teach English. So nowadays, many foreign languages are there, but the mode of one language which is helping all the languages of the countries or all the languages of the globe is English only, for the people to communicate with each other. Along with this, like countries like Nepal, Bangladesh, and several African nations have provided what? Space for learning English or teaching English. How? By teaching nationals or mediators or teachers to improvise their language. See, countries like Japan and China still today, they are waiting. What are they waiting for? They are waiting for the people. They are keeping their doors open to interact with number of native speakers of English to teach English. Still, these people are not so clear in English language. Which countries people are not clear?
Ma'am, you're talking about Japan.
Yes, Japan and China. Yes. See, I'm going to repeat the point. Japan and China open their doors to more number of native speakers of English to teach English. Why? Because still they are lacking behind when it is compared to a development of an English language. Clear till this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the next point. There was increased demand of English medium schools. Where was the English demand of medium of English schools? It was demand in India. So there was more demand. Why? Because more and more people wanted their kids to learn English. English has to be considered as a major foreign language in India since independence. Now, as the world is getting globalized, and there has been no sense of English as a global language, not just only in USA or UK. Although throughout the world, English is playing an important role in the language. English was considered a major foreign language in India. Now, in different contexts in India, many people have witnessed that they are able to gain benefits through this language. They're able to love this language. The changes which were made, what were the changes made? The changes that were made were learning this language. How? By you keeping translators or by educating themselves by going to schools and colleges. Is this point clear? Next,
Yes, ma'am.
Employment. What is the word employment refers to? The word employment refers to the job or the work. So as our Indians slowly, as they got educated or as they started learning English language and they were able to get their masters or pass out their college or degrees, they started to look for jobs. When they started to look for jobs, the Britishers only were hiring them and giving them jobs. Why? Because they were educated. So this also gave one way for the development of our country. Now, social and geographical mobility. What does the social and geographical mobility is referred to? Now, see, I'm going to tell you what was this point I was talking about? Education. You understood this now? Increasing demand of English medium schools.
Yes.
Now, employment. Many jobs in the organized sector now require good English skills. So one was the main thing for the Britishers to hire our Indians was a English language. Now, social mobility. Social mobility. English is seen an access route to the middle classes and the geographical mobility between the Indians and beyond. So what happened slowly, the middle class people, when they started to learn this language, this became a access to route middle class people. Matlab, this gave way for the middle class people to develop their status, develop their income, or move their position from lower class to middle class. And also it gave a drastic change in the geographical mobility within India and beyond India. Social and geographical mobility here refers to moving from one place to another place, or what? Social and geographical mobility.
Ma'am, does it mean like learning English helps us get more opportunities?
Yes, like for the lower class people in India. Yes, you're absolutely right. As I told you. So what happened now when I'm talking about the poor people in India. Let me clear this point for you straight away. For the poor people in India, this gave an access to the language, and also it gave a route for the people, middle class people, for geographical mobility within India and beyond Indians. Yeah, everyone please go through this language, no? I mean, sorry, all the points. Sorry. Understood, or should I elaborate, students?
Understood.
Understood, ma'am.
Now, I'm going to tell you when this improvements were made now from all these 9 points, there was an introduction for what? For English literature. How English literature played an important role. What happened in Indian English literature, especially refers to the works written in English by Indian writers. Now, I'm talking about this. I'm going to elaborate now. Now, when English became one of the important language here for our Indians here. So when this English was, what do you say? It was a main central point for us Indians to learn. And when it became a popular language, slowly what happened? Many writers started to come up with their what writings. When India became and when India was using English as a literature language, English literature, it became one of the common words. The English literature was introduced by the English writers. English as a language was introduced in India during the British rule. So having learned about the colonial language, here are the few Indian writers who started to write in English. The first person who wrote the first book by an Indian in English was by Sheikh Dien Muhammad, titled as Travels of Deen Muhammad. Muhammad was a traveler. Muhammad's travel native was published in 1793. The first pamphlet was written in English by as an Indian appeared in 1806. The first play in English, Krishna Mohan Banerjee's The Perspective, was published in 1831. So the first Indian novel in English was written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's Raj Mohan's wife appeared in 1864. Now I am going to elaborate these points. So when English language came into existence in English literature, slowly our Indian writers also evolved. Many writers came up. So the one of the first person who came up was who? He was the first book was written by an Indian in English. Who was the first person to write the first book in English? He was Sheikh Deen Muhammad. Do you want the name to spell out?
Yes, ma'am.
S-A-K-E, Sheikh. D-E-A-N, Deen Muhammad, M-A-H-O-M-E-T. This was the man first who wrote the first book in English. What was his book titled as? It was titled as Travels of Deen, D-E-A-N, Deen, M-A-H-O-M-E-T, his name itself. So this book was published, or Muhammad's travel narrative was published in 1793. The first pamphlet, what he wrote, was English by an Indian. It appeared in 1806. So this was the first thing which he wrote in 1793. But when was this published and when did it appear to the Indians? It was appeared in 1806. And the first play in English was Krishna Mohan Banerjee's. So when this book was published, there was a play organized by this book. What was the first play which was organized in this play from this book was Krishna Mohan Banerjee's The Perspective, was published in 1831. The first Indian novel in English. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's Raj Mohan's wife appeared in 1864. You all got this, or should I tell once again and explain point by point? Children, introduction of English literature. I'm sorry, students.
Ma'am, can you repeat the details regarding the first play?
Yes, listen. See, the first writer was Sheikh Deen Muhammad. You wrote it down, his name, right? His first book was Travels of Deen Muhammad. This point is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, his book was published in 1793. But the first pamphlet or the first book, which was written in English, it appeared in the through the Indians in 1806. Okay. And the first play was also been written in English. What was that? Krishna Mohan Banerjee's The Perspective. It was published by Krishna Mohan Banerjee in 1831. And also there was a first Indian novel in English, which was written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. What was Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's first novel in English? It was Raj Mohan's Wife, which appeared in 1864.
Ma'am, what was the work of Krishna Mohan Banerjee?
One second. The Krishna Mohan Banerjee was The Perspected, P-E-R-S-E-C-U-T-E-D.
P-E-R-S.
E-C.
Okay.
U-T-E-D, which was published in 1831. Do you need the definition of this paragraph? Should I send you the screenshot of this also?
Yeah, ma'am.
Along with the PPT, I'll share it. Now,
Okay.
once again. Next, who came first? After this evolution came up, the next person who came was, who is this? Rabindranath Tagore. But before Rabindranath Tagore came, no, there was Raja Ram Mohan Rai. What was he? He was one of the early Indian writers whose works were mostly political in nature. Roy wrote several pamphlets in English. Why did he write? He wrote for the nationalist cause of Indian independence. Before Rabindranath Tagore, there was one person who came into existence. Who was he? He was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He started to write in English. But what did he write for? What was his main concept for writing? His main concept was writing. He wrote many pamphlets in English. Why? To help people for the nationalist cause of Indian independence. He also published, what did he publish? He published a Brahmanical magazine in English in 1821. So what was the magazine which was published in 1821 by Raja Ram Mohan Roy? Brahmanical magazine. Do you need the spelling or you can write it down?
Noted down.
Now, after Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, after Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who was the next person? The next person who came into the list was Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. He was also another writer who credited was with his writing in English. He wrote a novel in English, and his other works were mostly in Bengali, which were translated in English later on. He only wrote one novel. Who wrote only one novel? Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. But he wrote many, his other works were mostly in Bengali, and later on those were translated to English. After these two writers, the Indian literary scene was dominated to the trio of Raja Roy, Mulk Raj Anand, and R.K. Narayan. According to a critic, William Walsh, it was this trio that established the foundation of Indian novel. So first, who came? Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Is this clear? Point? Why did he wrote? He started to write in English. He wrote his first novel, but also he started to write several pamphlet English. Why did he write? He wanted to encourage people to take part in the nationalist cause for Indian independence. Next came the Brahmanical magazine in English in 1821 by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. He was also another writer from our Indian country. What was his first novel? His first novel which he wrote in English was Brahmanical magazine. But most of his other novels were mostly in Bengali, and later on it were translated in English. And after these two people, there were several writers who were dominated. Who were there? Raja Rao, Mulk Raj, Anand, R.K. Narayan. Please make a note or note it down. Should I repeat any author's name here or note it down?
Noted down.
Okay. All Raja Rao, Mulk Raj Anand, and R.K. Narayan. Now, later on, when after them, who came in 1950, there were many dominated writers such as Anita Desai, Kushwant Singh, and Arun Joshi. Anita Desai established herself an eminent Indian woman writer with novels such as Cry the Peacock in 1965. So in 1950, after post-independence, after 3 years of independence, many writers came up after. So among them, some important writers were who? Anita Desai, Kushwant Singh, and Arun Joshi. These were the most three important writers. What did Anita Desai? She established herself an eminent Indian writer with novels. She was an eminent Indian writer. She wrote many novels. Her first novel was Cry the Peacock in 1965. You want to make a note? Done? Should I repeat? Any author, this Cry of Peacock?
No need, ma'am.
What happened? Devika? No need?
No, ma'am.
Cry of the Peacock in 1965, Fire on the Mountain in 1977. This was written by whom? This was written by Anita Desai. And The Clear Light of the Day, 1980. In her writing experience, these were the things she wrote. Now, Kushwant Singh's famous book was Train to Pakistan, and Arun Joshi's The Appetians were the popular books of this period. So when Indian English came into existence, let me share the screen. Okay. Now, next, who was the first writer who became famous? Who was this? Who is this? You know? Who was this person on my screen?
Rabindranath Tagore.
Ma'am, Rabindranath Tagore.
I thought you people forgot in schools when you learned. Okay, so when was Rabindranath Tagore born? He was born in 1861 to 1941. So he was a versatile genius by himself. He was much influenced by Kalidas, Dante, and Shakespeare. So this man was very much influenced by these persons. He was very much influenced by Kalidas, Dante, and Shakespeare. He was also very much inspired by Shakespeare's novels also. Now, Ekka Chalo, Ekka Chalo, Ekka Chalo. Have you heard this song? This and the national anthem are the most famous songs which were written by this person in West Bengal. Is this 2 points clear? Or you want to make a note? What did Rabindranath Tagore do? He wrote one song, Ekla Chalo, and the national anthem. And in West Bengal, he was from West Bengal in India. The writer of these songs was Rabindranath Tagore. He is a great poet born in India on 7th May. He was born on 7th May 1861. His father was a Maharishi. Do you want his explanation? Or should I carry on with what the works he did? Do you want Rabindranath's introduction, children, students? Sorry.
Anyone can discuss his works.
Yeah. Others? Amy and Devika, you want his introduction, what he did?
No, ma'am.
No. In his childhood, he wrote Banphul, a narrative poem which contains 7,000 lines. In his childhood, when he wrote both in Bengali and English language. In his childhood, he wrote Banphul, a narrative poem which contains 7,000 lines. In England, he wrote many poems. Amongst them was Bhagna Hridaya, is an expression of joys and sorrows. His earliest writing in prose and poetry had begun to be printed in 1875. So as he started to write in the early childhood, the first thing which he wrote was Banphul, and which started to print in his earliest writing was in 1875. His literary careers covered more than 60 years. He received the Nobel Peace Prize for his work Gitanjali, a collection of short poems in 1913. Next, a collection of Mahatma Gandhi called him Gurudev. George V, the British king, gave him the title of knighthood, which he gave up in 1990 in a protest against the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So one of this George V, the British king, gave him a title of knighthood, but he returned that title back to him. Why did he return that title back to him? Because he returned that back because these people were ruling us. He gave back his title in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Jallianwala Bagh massacre was what was this? Are you aware of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre where many Indians were being killed by the Britishers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so when he came to know that when the Britishers cheated them, he gave the title which the king gave him. He said, I didn't need it. But later on, what happened? He was the first Asian person who received the Nobel Prize. He was one of the famous person to receive the Nobel Prize. He died in 1941 at Shantiniketan, where he had founded the world famous Vishwabharati University in Bolpur. Please make a note. He died in 1941 at Shantiniketan. Shantiniketan is the name of a place. What did he do? He founded the world famous Vishwabharati Institute in Bolpur in West Bengal. He was a versatile genius. He was a great poet, novelist, dramatist, short story writer, music composer, a patriot. His songs are sung as Rabindra Sangeet. Clear till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, now I'm going to give some of his important major stories which he wrote, the novels and the stories. Please write it down. Na? Poetries, dramas, essays, lectures on what topic he gives, what were the letters he wrote, and what were his memories, and what were the translations he did. Please make a note. So the major works of Tagore were, first one, the Tagore's. Shall I start or you're writing it down?
Writing it down, ma'am.
His first stories, the story books which he wrote, now the first one was Stories from Tagore in 1918.
Okay.
The Hungry Stones in 1916. A Wife's Letter in 1914. Next, The Patriot in 1928. Should I repeat?
Continue, ma'am.
Yeah. Next one, The Story of a Muslim Woman in 1941.